Hey guys, I'm Ich, and here's the thing. Like most people, every morning when I wake up, the first thing I do is check my phone. The first reason why I do this is because of the time difference between Melbourne, Australia, where I live, and Montreal, Canada, where I'm from, which at the moment is 14 hours. So every morning, I wake up to a full day's worth of never seen before French-Canadian social media just waiting for me, which is great. And the other reason why I like to start my day on my phone is the fact that most of my sports videography community also lives many time zones behind me. So after looking at what my friends and family back home are up to, I usually start reading and answering all the questions I got overnight from sport videographers reaching out to me mainly on Instagram and Facebook. But I did notice over time that some questions keep coming back over and over. So today, I'm doing a very simple video answering the 10 questions I get asked the most on social media. And by the way, if after watching this you still have questions of your own, you can leave them in the comments below or reach out to me on Instagram or in the Facebook group. Alright, so let's get into this. Question number 1, what software or app do you edit with? I edit with Adobe Premiere Pro. No, it's not free, unfortunately. It is much cheaper if you're a student. And by the way, people assume the student means you need to be in high school or something, but it doesn't matter how old you are. If you got an email address that ends with .edu, you don't need any other proof than that. And it makes it much cheaper. I think it's more than 50% cheaper, but it's still not free. Okay, so question number 2, which one is the best free editing software? Well, I've never used any free editing softwares per se. Actually, when I started editing, you had to buy hardware and it was, hundreds of thousands of dollars back then. So I wasn't editing from home, let me put it that way. If you ask me the question a different way, if you ask me which one is the most professional one, I can tell you hands down it's DaVinci Resolve. I think it's the most professional one because it gives you access to a lot more tools. You can do extremely high quality color grading. That's mainly what the app is for, but it's also an editing app or software as well. But on the flip side, it's also not necessarily the most user-friendly, especially if you're a beginner, if you don't know much about video editing to start with. So you'll definitely need to go on YouTube and watch a few tutorials and sort of work your way up. But if you do, if you've got the patience, you'll definitely be able to do great things with DaVinci Resolve. Question number 3, I want to become a sports videographer. What camera should I buy? That's by far the question I get the most. By the way, the order doesn't mean anything. Number 3 on my phone, but yeah, definitely the most popular one. There's no answer to that. The camera you should buy is the camera you can afford. I've posted a video already that explains why you should go for a camcorder or a DSLR or things like that. But at the end of the day, whatever you can afford, look at it this way. Like, think about what you want to do with the camera, what conditions you'll be filming in with the camera, and then you'll have a pretty good idea of like what's your priority. Do I need to be able to do slow motion? Do I need to be able to film in 4K? Do I need a camera that can still give me a good, decent result in low light conditions? Once you know like what your real priority is, then buy the camera that does that. Because there's no perfect camera. Even at the very expensive end of the spectrum, you always end up prioritizing a camera because of the specs that work for you, but the specs that work for me might not be the most relevant for someone else, and vice versa. So you really just have to figure out what you want and then buy the camera that fits with that. That being said, the most common models that I see people start with at the moment on the Canon side, I see a lot of people start with a Canon 80D or a Canon M50, which both seem to be very popular for beginners and do a decent job. On the Sony side, the Sony A6000, I think it's called. These are cameras that I've been hearing a lot about from beginners that are working with them and pretty happy with the results, so maybe look into that. Question number 4, where do you get your footage from? I film my footage. That's what I do. That's what I'm paid for. I'm lucky enough that I get to cover a lot of different events, so I always try to, when I can, film a bit of behind the scenes so that I can use it for these videos. Otherwise, I do get some videos on YouTube once in a while. I try to make sure that I don't go overboard because I don't want to, and when I do, typically I try to identify the channel where it's from. Otherwise, also the clubs that I work with or the federations that I work with tend to send me a lot of footage when I edit for them. So this is pretty much all the different ways I get footage. Question number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where do you get your music from? I am subscribed to 3 different sites of copyright-free music. One is Epidemic Sound, another one is ARTLIST, and the third one is Melody. I did a video about this already, but I would say the best one, if you're doing social media content only, no work for clients, definitely Epidemic Sound. Otherwise, Melody is much cheaper than all the other music sites out there. So if you can't afford Epidemic Sound, then go for Melody. Otherwise, if you're going to work for clients, ARTLIST has the best licensing that will allow you to use any track for any work that you do for your clients, and they won't get in trouble if they post it on their social media. So yeah, these are my recommendations. Question number 6 is camcorder or DSLR. It all depends on what you're doing at the end of the day. I would say you definitely need a camcorder if, for example, if you're filming for coaching purposes, for the coaches to watch the whole game and analyze it and be able to see everything that's going on. You don't want to be filming with a DSLR where you could, or a mirrorless camera for that matter. You want everyone to always be in focus. You want it to be very easy to zoom in and out and not have to worry about adjusting your ISO or your focus or all these different things. With a camcorder, it's sort of one size fits all. You turn it on, you adjust a few things, but then you're pretty much ready to go, and whatever happens, you can handle it. So if you're filming live, if you're filming, everything you're filming basically is useful. You can't miss anything, then definitely go with a camcorder. But if you're filming things for more of a creative, artistic sort of frame of mind, and your goal is more to do a hype reel, to do like, videos that are going to look very cinematic, very fancy, very Instagram, then the DSLR, the mirrorless camera, is definitely the way to go. Question number 7. Can I film sports with my phone? The answer is, of course you can. You can film anything with your phone, but you just have to limit your expectations, basically, because filming with a phone means that you're going to have a very wide shot unless you're actually on the field or on the court, sort of following players around with a gimbal or something. Otherwise, if you're on the sideline, most likely you're going to have a very wide shot of everything, so it's going to be hard to edit if your goal is to do a hype reel, for example. And also, I would definitely not recommend to zoom in when you're filming with a phone, because it's not a real zoom. You're zooming digitally, which means that it's inside the camera, or in this case inside the phone, that it's just like zooming in the same way you would in the edit when you scale up to 200%. So when you're zooming in with your phone, you're just destroying the quality of your footage, which is one of the main reasons why you wouldn't want to film sport with a phone, because it makes it very hard to get anything other than extremely wide shots. But if that's all you got, then I would suggest filming, if it's a game, just film the game from the sidelines as much as you can. But then if you can be on the court, on the pitch to film close-ups, definitely do. Otherwise, get as many cutaways as you can in the crowd. After the game, just get someone to dribble the ball, and then you just film their hands. Do anything you can to get some close-ups somehow. But yes, if you've got the patience and the determination, you definitely can film with a phone. Question number 8. Can I make money on YouTube with sport videos? Yes, you can. I do. I don't make much, I'll be honest. I'm definitely not making a living out of it. Honestly, I say I do. I don't really, because the money I spend is way more than the money I make. But the thing though, you have to be realistic. Like if you're gonna want to make money off of sports, it's gonna have to be local sports, or like don't think that you can just make NBA videos and somehow you're gonna make money off of it, because one, you're never gonna be able to monetize any type of NHL, NFL, or NBA footage. And two, like most of the people who do this also use mainstream music, and you'll have the same problem. So I've seen channels recently of people who cover like high school basketball in a very specific area. That is the best way to go. Like they're covering like up and coming superstars and guys who got recruited by colleges and stuff, and that's the best way to do it. They're filming games, they're filming trainings, they're doing all these things that for someone in the area who's into high school basketball, this is a very valuable channel. So you can definitely get a great audience. You're filming sports, you're doing what you love. It's also a great way to get sponsors, because if you're gonna wait on that AdSense money, you might wait a while. But if you go to your local businesses and say, look, this is my audience, they're all people from this area, they all love sports. If you go to a store that sells sneakers or that sells like sports goods and you offer a bit of visibility in your video in exchange for money, that's their target demographic right there. Like everyone who watches your video are the same people who buy from their stores, and they're competitors, so it would be a perfect fit. So it's just a matter of finding ways to make it appealing for a potential sponsor, and then go target these sponsors and get that money. Question number 9, how did you start your career in sports videography? I originally worked in television. I had nothing to do with sports. I loved sports, but wasn't working in it at all. But I had a friend who was working for the Montreal Canadiens and had to leave his job and didn't want to leave them hanging. So he asked me if I wanted to replace him. I said yes, and the rest was history. Worked there for 6 years and then moved to Australia. People usually ask me this question because they want to know how they can get into the business. It's probably not the most common way, but there's no really any way these days that's common. I've seen a lot of people get hired from their Instagram portfolio. I've seen a lot of people get hired just by answering an ad. There's many ways. My advice is just put yourself out there, put your work out there, create an Instagram portfolio, a YouTube portfolio, just do a shitload of videos that are just the videos that you're doing for fun, that are showing the world what you can do. Eventually someone's gonna see it. This is the type of industry where, I'm sorry to say, but no one cares what school you went to, what grades you had. If you can do what they need you to do, you've got the job. So just show them something that proves to them that you can do it, and you're in. And the last question, can you watch my video and give me some feedback? Yes, I can, and yes, I have, and yes, I will. I'm pretty sure that I've given feedback to every single person who asked me to, and I intend on keep doing that. So yeah, just if you got a video that you want some feedback on, just send me an email, drop me a comment, DMs, whatever. I'll be happy to do so. So there you go. These are the 10 questions I get asked the most on social media. If you still have questions I haven't answered yet, please feel free to leave them in the comments below, or you can reach out via DMs or on the Facebook group. And by the way, the added value of the Facebook group is that it's not just me answering questions. There's a bunch of people there. They're all willing to help, to answer questions, give you feedback, insight, whatever it is you need, they're there for it. So you should definitely join. But in the meantime, once again, my name is E, and I hope I earned the privilege of your time.